Welcome to My Daily Thread. It's a great little place to get a snippet of wisdom from the yoga and the meditation masters to start or to end your day. I'm Jeff Lichty. All right, friends, welcome back. Here we are, My Daily Thread, snippets of wisdom. We use the Patañjali Yoga Sūtras as a jumping off spot, and that's what we did yesterday when we talked about Tapas. And then I brought in some of the theory from James Clear, Atomic Habits, and then Dr. Rangan Chatterjee, who's a physician in the UK, who talks a lot about habit change and health. And this relates directly to this study that we are working on in the start of the Svādhyāya of Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, the second chapter. That's what Apada is. Sadhana, the chapter on practice, Svādhyāya. And the first verse being Tapas Svādhyāya Īśvara-praṇidhāna, Kriyā Yoga. And that's the act of yoga. It's the yoga in the act of life. It's the actions that are necessary to pursue this thing called yoga. And really, it's that translation of discipline, self-study, and surrender to a higher power. That's the threefold concept that exists in Kriyā Yoga. And they all wrap together, and they are all intricately connected and intertwined and enmeshed even. And it's by these three things that we start to move towards a greater understanding of ourself and the concepts of yoga. And we talked about how tapas is that idea of self-control, but not so much that it's self-mortification or self-harming in any way, and that there has to be consistency. There's going to be a development of inner strength that comes with that. And these are important concepts that go along with tapas. The idea of generating heat and purifying ourselves is this symbolic representation that the fire is going to purify our negative tendencies, and that could be like our laziness, our ego, our desires. I'm only speaking for myself. Maybe you guys have none of that, in which case shoot me a note because I want to learn from you. But this has transformative power, and that's what tapas is all about. In tapas, it's important to avoid the extremes. We need to make sure that we're not doing self-punishment and that we're practicing in a way that's balanced, and it creates spiritual growth. If your goal is more physical, that it's a physical growth and not harm, and that there is this discipline that leads to joy, and also the joy of leading a disciplined life. But now we're moving on to this concept of Svādhyāya, and that is self-study. And really, in a way, we need to have a sturdy discipline that can help us create the space for self-reflection and also a space to actually study some sacred texts that are meaningful to us that help become a mirror to our behavior. Now, there's one other aspect to Svādhyāya that Vyasa, one of the commentators, talks about, and that is this idea of japa, the repetition or chanting of mantras. And now remember that ties right in with Īśvara-praṇidhāna. We learned from the first chapter in our studies in the first chapter, where there's the recitation of Om. And this idea of even just this humming and how there's an internal vibration that we can create when we're humming that gives us a little bit of comfort. And it gives us a little bit of peace and contentment just for a moment. And this idea that we're able to even embrace this only comes with tapas. So again, you can see how tapas becomes an important part of Kriyā Yoga and how they all start to merge together. The Svādhyāya, the self-study, the recitation of Om. Also the idea of creating space for that practice, which is our tapas, and then the Īśvara-praṇidhāna that we learned in the first chapter as, the surrender to the higher power. So we'll talk a little bit more about that tomorrow, and I'll see if I can dig anything else up on it. But otherwise, my friends, today when you're feeling any kind of stress or any sort of dis-ease of any sort, could you just usher in the practice of some slight internal reflection? Could you bring in the humming sound that will give you a vibration of joy and contentment inside? Give it a try. Let me know how it works. And as always, love to have you listening. Om. Peace out. All right, our post show note. Could you take a second, share some of these ideas with your friends, share the episode. That helps us out in the podcast world. And drop me a note if you want. jefflichty.com. Always there to answer some questions. Peace out.